live.
We're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Nerdy Up North podcast. It's a nerdy podcast and it's hosted by Northern Nerds. I am one of your hosts, Sam.
And I'm the other host, Paul. And yes, we have other people joining us tonight. I'm not going to call them guests anymore because they've at least had more than 3 appearances, so they're like part of the furniture. We've got the most fertile member of the team. She can't help but get breeding and stuff. With her having not just one baby, she has to do it extra special, and she has twins. By the end of the episode, she'll be having octuplets, trust us. We have the lovely Peach, or Sarah, as she is known in other areas of the interweb. Hello, Sarah.
Hello.
Hello. And we have him, who, what can we call him tonight?
The him man who should not be named?
The man, the myth, the mystery, the daddy poo himself.
The velour snatch.
The velour snatch. He never looks impressed. He always looks pissed off. It's like he's just like the grumpiest bastard in the world.
Just waiting to see what you're saying about us this week.
That's right.
But yeah, hi everyone. You did say that we're not guests anymore, but what I didn't tell you before coming on is we might have a special guest.
Oh dear.
Ooh.
Well, seeing is away, and he's such a beautiful person, and he hasn't been on for a few weeks. He's missed these trekking podcasts, and it's Tom Hanks night. We have got Good Wilson. He's got his blonde tips and his glasses. God Wilson.
Oh dear me.
Well, he'll be joining us for the night.
So you ordered a Wilson and you've basically tarnished the collector's item for that bit.
Yes. But he might join us a few times, and whoa, don't go down there, Good Wilson.
Oh, bad Wilson.
You there.
Bad Wilson. Yes.
Oh, Lee, that's brilliant.
I can't wait to see his reaction to it.
I can't wait.
He's probably
frosted
dead.
Tips and everything.
The frosted tips of doom. Yes. I don't know if I've still got images of Goodwill lined up. Have I still from last episode? I might have got. Yes. Just in case you do miss him there, he's back. He's here. He loves the Goonies. He's still there, and he also is saying hi. Lee is the daddy.
Salute to Michael.
So yes, we've got Goodwill there just to keep us entertained. And hello to the chat. I see you, merry band of miscreants is there. Beth, Donna, Chris. Now one of the popular ones. We've got a Rebecca joining us as well. That's a very posh name.
Deviant.
But yes, so tonight's episode is a little bit of a special one. I did put in the description my personal opinion on the person that we are talking about, and we'll get into that a bit later. I don't know if Sam wants to do her little bit before she does the disclaimer.
Sorry, I had a mouthful of juice there.
Oh.
Took by surprise. Always a good question to start with. Like, how you's doing and what you's been watching?
Well, I've been watching stuff. Nothing interesting, actually.
No, me neither, actually.
No, I'll tell a lie. I have been watching a Nickelodeon show. So, yes, I have been watching a kids' show. It has been the remake, or not a remake, a more modern telling of Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh,
now, these are a couple of years old, so they're not brand new. I think they come out just before COVID and stuff as well. The first season come out a few years before, but the second season, I didn't really realise it was the third season, but it was all about the Shadow Man. And it actually is quite creepy, and the kids in it aren't annoying and quite likeable. So
that's always a bonus, isn't it?
It is, yes. So what
kids
about...
Kids are crazy.
As Sarah's going to find out when she's got a house full of them. Just make her own little Goonie list. Try.
I know. I kind of backtracked, and I was
I've been to a kids' party today. I know what a room full of them is like.
Oh God, Sarah, you're a better person than I am.
So yes,
couldn't do it.
So Sarah, what have you been watching?
Well, this week I've been watching some Tom Hanks stuff.
All right.
I'm not going to say what I've been watching yet. We'll just come across that as we go through today. Earlier in the week, though, I was carrying on my Star Trek marathon. And I'm on season 4 of Voyager now, so I've been watching a bit of that.
You've been smashing the Trek, like I say,
Really?
you're really doing well.
Started,
what's Michael
3
gone?
or 4 months ago or something.
Yeah, it's easy to put on in the background while I'm like doing stuff.
So what you're saying is, because everyone calls me the cult leader, but basically Michael is the real cult leader because he's getting people into the Trek and following along those lines type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think Michael's deceiving us all.
Michael's taking power from the lower reaches.
He definitely goes for the lower reaches, doesn't he, Lee?
Well, yeah.
So Lee, what have you been watching?
Well, apart from the ridiculous amount of Tom Hanks films, I did manage to start Always Sunny in Philadelphia last night. The new season. Was it season 16 or something?
Yes.
Oh, you're on the new one. We're still yet to watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so good. I
it?
forgot how much I loved it.
I did love the bowling episode. The bowling episode this season's quite good.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I've just seen the first 2 episodes.
All right, I'm going to
just get a
spoil them
couple
all.
more
I'm going
in
to
tonight.
spoil them
Oh,
all
well,
for you
you've
now,
got
so it's right.
You got something to look forward to. We get to watch them, but it's taken us ages. Took us ages to get through One Piece. Normally, like, we would blitz it, but just I don't know what's wrong with us. We haven't even finished Ahsoka. I've got 2 episodes left of that to go.
And the 2 best episodes of anything that Star Wars has done in a long time. I generally was left open mouthed and gobsmacked of how good the last 2 episodes were. So yes.
Well, I've got a busy week this week, recording wise. So likelihood is it'll probably be towards the end of the week I'll get to watch them. I have not watched anything new. I've still got Big Bang on in the background, but I am partway through Mockingjay.
Right.
I'm fucking loving it. I just don't have a chance to, because with us being working the shifts I have been, I haven't had a chance to read properly, but I am back to my normal shifts. Thank fuck. So yeah, not watching out new, just been reading and had Big Bang on in the background for the 50 billionth time. Netflix is going to ask if I'm all right soon.
No, I'm trying to think. There was was there a Netflix show I watched quite recently? I can't remember.
Wrestlers,
yes, that was very good. But I think I talked about that the other week. Al Snow is an absolute legend in that show. Like he actually, and apparently since the Netflix show, the OVW has been doing really well. So they've been getting sell-out shows, which is great to hear. And I want nothing but good things for Al Snow and everything along those lines as well. So
brilliant.
Yes,
That's such good news. I do need to watch it. Tell you what I do watch, which is ridiculous. I watch dash cam footage on YouTube.
What's wrong with you?
Cars.
What's the matter
with
you?
Know. I have no idea. I actually am subscribed to a few channels, and I have to keep updated. It's literally, it's me just getting angry at drivers.
I do enough of that on my day-to-day driving.
I don't need
to do it. I don't need to do it anywhere else.
I don't understand where it comes from. There was one time about a year ago when that's all I watched was dash cam footage of cars. What's wrong with us?
I don't know. You're a strange person. I've got no comments or anything to say about that, really. I think it's best we move on and talk about the subject that Lee has been obsessively... I don't even know why, because, say, everyone's seen Tom Hanks movies and everyone should have a good, a variety of films to talk about. But Lee, being the psychopath he is, has decided to watch fucking every single one of his movies he could possibly fit in a 2-week period, and he's done a lot of fucking movies.
Well, I keep getting you've barely watched anything, Lee. Oh, you're the new Sam. So I think finally I can just rub it in you guys this episode. Oh, you haven't seen this one. Take that.
Oh, no. I'm not saying I haven't seen them. I just haven't seen them this week.
Right.
Oh no, this could be a lot of I've not seen in this one for me too. I'll do the disclaimer, and then I actually have a question to ask straight off the bat. So, everything, my God, my mind's just gone blank. Oh, where am I at? Everything we discuss in today's episode is our opinions and our opinions alone. If you'd like to discuss anything from today's episode, please come and join us in the Discord, the Face group, or the comments section, where we can have an open conversation. What we won't have is anyone coming for us and telling us our opinions are wrong. We can all agree to disagree in fandom, so let's keep it fun, keep it kind, and keep the toxic behaviour out of nerdism.
Well done there, Sammy.
Thank you. I got there in the end. What's the matter with this? I wanted to ask
just before you ask the question, I noticed this in the chat and I've had to say it. Donna's asking the dash cam footage, does that include dogging?
Absolutely not. I did see that, and I wasn't going to respond to her until later. No, it's just cars. Oh, I'm weird, and I know
that's
that.
just Donna's dash cam footage.
Yeah.
Wait there, Donna's dash cam footage. It's a triple D so we're getting triple Ds for Donna's now.
And we've only just started.
Yes. So ask away. Sorry, Sammy.
No, it was out of curiosity more than anything, because with Monsters being Gary Oldman, I was looking at his filmography in great length, and he has done 106 movies. Mm-hmm. Do we know how many movies Tom Hanks has done in his entirety?
Come on, Lee, you'll have that figure.
His IMDb, it has 92, I think it is. But one of them's not out until later this year. Mm-hmm. And there's quite a few that are TV appearances as well.
Yeah.
Like Happy Days, he showed up in that. Like that was one of his first ever things. Days. He beat the Fonz up, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But yes. So, my another question that I was going to ask before. How much do you love Tom Hanks?
This much. Yeah. How can you not love Tom Hanks?
He genuinely seems like a really nice guy to meet as well. Going off some of the stuff that you see him do. I don't know if you've seen the pictures of him when he got his picture taken with a passed out fan.
Yeah,
in the
I remember that
and things like that. And I've seen pictures of him crashing weddings and things. He just genuinely seems like a canny bloke.
No, I heard about the wedding story that he was just because I think he was just walking along the beach and they were having the wedding, and so they saw him and he just basically started integrating himself into the actual wedding and started taking photos with people and actually stayed through the full ceremony and everything, which just is amazing.
He's just lovely. I listened to Nerdist back in the day, and one of that, they had big guests on, but this was fucking huge when they got Tom Hanks. At the time, you don't think Tom Hanks is going to do something like that, podcast wise, because he's you see him on chat shows, but it's very, very rare. And he just tells this beautiful story about he's a typewriter collector.
Yeah.
And he tells this beautiful story how he had to get rid of some to get more.
Mm-hmm.
And he was buying. That's right. He was buying from this old lady who was she wrote him a handwritten letter saying, "Dear Mr. Hanks, I have this typewriter that I would love to sell to you, as I am trying to save money for my grandson to go off to college." Mm-hmm. And Tom Hanks, being the nicest guy in the world, went to her house. She showed him the typewriter, asked for a price, and she was looking for $1,000, and he was that's not worth $1,000. That's not even worth 20. Mm-hmm. But then when she started telling him about her grandson, he went, "Here, you can have 2," and give her $2,000.
Apparently, though, funny enough, you're saying that about podcasts and stuff. To get Tom Hanks on a podcast, because I have been researching this, all you have to do is send him a really nice typewriter.
Yeah, that's what Chris Hardwick did. He wrote a letter to him and said, "Dear Mr. Hanks, we'd really appreciate and love if you could come on our podcast. And here is a typewriter to sweeten the deal." Mm-hmm. And he wrote a letter back on the typewriter that he got sent, saying, it was, "How do you think you can buy my love? You think you can buy my affection? Wow, this typewriter is really good. Oh yeah, I think yeah, no worries, I'll come on the podcast." It was just started off totally insulted, and by the end of it, he was like, "Yeah, that's no problem. If you can find them, because Nerdist have thousands upon thousands of episodes now, and it is one of the very early ones. But I highly recommend and listen to the first episode he was ever on. It is such a sweet episode. He talks about his career as a start when he did television and goes into film, talks about his wife. It's honestly, it's lovely. And Wilson as well. He talks about Wilson a lot. Because at the time there was a football.
But did he talk about Good Wilson?
No, he didn't. Oh. Sorry.
No, it was just kind of going down a similar route to what you were saying there about podcasts. There's have you heard of Good Mythical Morning?
Oh no.
It's like these two guys in America do like a YouTube series, and they do a video every day during the week. But they're
every
quite
day.
big on
Don't
the
give people ideas, please.
They're quite big on the YouTube.
I do enough.
This is all they do, though. They don't have jobs anymore or like that. This is all they do. But they've got like there's a couple of side projects they do as well, and one of them is Good Mythical Kitchen. And they've got their own chef who goes away and he does like loads of random things. But he started doing a series, this chef,
all right,
called Last Meals, and he gets people on to talk about what their ideal last meal would be if they had a choice. And they got Tom Hanks on.
What was his last meal then?
Oh, it was all sorts. He had like there was like a Greek buffet thing with like tara masalata and Greek salads and an In-N-Out burger, and I think he had waffles.
He's just going the full hog.
Yeah.
It sounds similar to a podcast my wife listens to called Off Menu. It's got Ed Gamble on and the ginger comedian that goes on stupid. I've forgotten his name now, but they get like celebrities on and they ask them to do the perfect 3-course meal, and had Dan Aykroyd on, and they couldn't get a word in, and all he was talking about was a Crystal Skull vodka for half an hour, to the point where they had to do a disclaimer before we said, we tried to interview Dan Aykroyd, but this is what happened.
But yeah, it was like something different to hear Tom Hanks do, because it's the whole concept of it is like obviously your last meal before you die type of thing. So they're asking him a lot of questions around his around what he expects death to be type things.
We're not getting this to the Sammy style.
That's like right up my street.
It was an interesting conversation. Is all I'm saying. It was like, who would be your ideal eulogizer at your funeral and stuff like that, and is there an afterlife? Things that they discussed like that, and
it's happy joy stuff. Yes.
Yeah, happy joy stuff.
I always find it great about Tom Hanks because he has like the perfect image, doesn't he? Like him and Rita Wilson are like the perfect couple, and he has the perfect image. And then you've got Colin Hanks, who's just the perfect kid, and then you've got the other kid. And I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but fuck me, he is an absolute train wreck. You cannot believe he is related to them too.
But I know
he tried to be a rapper. It was so funny. He's so bad.
Dear me. But I know we were talking beforehand as well, because like these episodes that we're doing now, like people think we are planning this, but it doesn't actually work this way. Like with the Stephen King stuff, it kind of just happened. Like we were doing It, then we done Stand By Me together. We're doing like say, to me, one of, well, in my personal opinion, the greatest actor ever in Tom Hanks. I'll talk about my reasons why I think this. Like there's like going from the 80s to now, there's no actor or actress out there that has played so many different roles, done so many different genre and films, and stayed so relevant to the point where people still, like when they hear a Tom Hanks movie coming out, they get excited. They don't even need to know what the film's about, just the name. And it's very rare that someone can stay as relevant as that, from the 80s to the 90s to the noughties to the 2010s to now. And it's just mind-blowing, like the levels he does and the journey that he's been on and the talent he is. And then going from tomorrow night's episode with Monsters being the most chameleon actor and the most, like, say, again,
he's the most versatile. That's how I introduce him. Most versatile actor that's ever graced our screens.
And Gary Oldman, which is when we do episodes like this, I wish we were this clever.
We're really not. We're really not. But we don't even do, like, Monsters is literally just before me and Dan go and say, right, what we're doing next week. That one.
Yeah.
That is literally it. There is no planning behind it whatsoever.
Yeah. But with Tom Hanks, it's one of those people, like, I don't give a fuck anyone says anything online. I actually get defensive and angry when anyone tries to slate Tom Hanks for any reason, just simply.
Who the fuck is out there slating Tom Hanks?
Doing that?
Arseholes that were like, say, I'm watching you. Anyone that does, but yeah.
You'll get that.
So, because I know, like, say, Lee and Sarah has been doing the research. I've watched 1 or 2 Tom Hanks movies, but my love, like, say, as I've said, anything that Tom Hanks does, I generally get excited for and like watch. The only one I haven't watched is basically the his new one. What's it? The one swinging. The old
Asteroid
man.
City?
No.
City.
Was it the old man?
A Man Called Otto.
Man Called Otto.
Oh.
Which I have heard.
I've seen the clips of that on TikTok. I might as well have seen the whole fucking film.
Stop watching stuff on TikTok. Watch film, Sam. I'm telling you off now.
I watched it by mistake.
Right, okay.
By mistake.
Well, so when I'd mentioned in the Discord about being on the Tom Hanks podcast, Donna said, "Oh, you need to watch A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. It's such a nice film." And then a few nights later, Bex was saying, "Oh, I've had a really sad day. I just want to watch something really nice." And I was like, "Oh, I've just had the perfect suggestion." I couldn't remember the name of the film though, and I put A Man Called Otto on.
Right.
It's
not a happy film, is it?
That made Bex's day.
He's just grumpy all the way through, and then just it's really sad ending.
It's a really sad ending.
Bex she was pretty pissed off.
Yeah, she's saying don't do it in the chat.
To be fair though, Bex is in the chat. Does Bex get pissed off at you quite a lot, Lotherly?
I mean, I think everyone gets pissed off at me quite a lot. So I don't blame her.
No, I know Sam gets pissed off at me as well. Well, Walton Matter and what was the other one called? Jack Lemmon, grumpy old.
Grumpy old man.
I'll say Sam's the Jack Lemmon because she's the funnier one and I'm the grumpier one. So I'll give her that.
I'll take Jack Lemmon any day.
Yes. So going back to say, because looking back at his filmography as well, but talking about our starting points, what was your first memory? Because it'll be hard to say. Tell me your first film you remember seeing Tom Hanks in. But I remember straight away, probably the easiest one to mention. First one I ever saw was Big, and from that moment I fell in love with I fell in love with the movie from start to finish. It is one of the if we were doing ratings out of 5, if we were doing a review, I would give it a Lee score. Would get a 5. I don't think you can do anything different or change anything to make that any better. Even though there is creepier themes through it about the sleeping with technically a 14-year-old boy, but still, that boy wasn't competent. Is that a good enough excuse, though, Sammy?
I'm just trying. I am really reaching.
If we're going to get into Big, what ending has everyone seen? Because there's what's it called? Mandela effects about this.
Right.
And I remember a different ending from when I was a kid.
What's the ending you remember?
I remember him going back to school, and then he's sitting in his chair, and a new girl joins the class.
That's not a Mandela. It's a deleted. It's a deleted scene. It's a deleted scene. There's actually evidence of that.
The woman made the wish on the Zoltar to become a little girl, and she's joined the class.
Yep.
It makes no sense because she'll be a child with no parents living in a house all by herself.
That's really fucking depressing.
But yeah, I've seen the scene. It is true, but it was never released in the cinema. It was never released on VHS or DVD. I think it was a Blu-ray extra. I
can't find it anywhere now. I've not seen it since I saw it when I was maybe 7 or 8.
Right, but it definitely does exist. I'll be honest with you, Lee. It does exist. You're not making that one up there.
It does. But there's loads of people that refute it online and say it's a Mandela effect, and it's
no,
it's not.
I'll fight them all. So that's my first remembrance of the Tom Hanks. I'm going to a few different funny stories after that, but we'll start with that aspect. What about you, Sarah?
It's one of two. I can't remember which one I actually saw first, but I know I saw them kind of about the same time. It was either Turner and Hooch or The Burbs.
Right. So you went dark for your first movie with the boob.
I don't think I personally sat down and made the decision to watch them. I think it was something my parents were watching because it was one of those on TV movies at the time.
Right, okay.
So I just remember that was one of the first 2 movies I saw with them in.
So The Burbs is the ultimate gothic fantasy, and Turner Hooch killing dogs. So Sammy's never seen it.
Satan is good. Satan is my pal. I love that film.
What about you, Lee?
I'm pretty sure it was Turner and Hooch. I don't know if I'd seen anything before that, but we definitely had one of those a Panasonic videotapes that you would
write everything on type thing.
Off the TV. Definitely had it on tape.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that would be the one.
Right. Okay. What were you, Sammy?
Mine's a bit different. I don't know if it's the first, but it's one of my first memories was Splash.
Right. Okay.
Generally thought it was a horror film.
Why did you think it was a horror?
Fucking woman is a mermaid, like. And I remember seeing parts of it where she's in the bath, and I was like, "Oh, what the fuck's going on here?" Yeah, I think it was Splash. There was a lot of movies I thought were horror back in the day. Like Howard the Duck, I'm still convinced is a horror film.
You're a bit of a sensitive child.
But yeah, Splash. I have such good memories of watching Splash. I just loved Daryl Hannah so much. It was a hair. I've always wanted that mermaidy hair, and I was blessed with straight polka dot hair, and a lot of it, and very heavy. I would never get that.
I remember watching Splash and probably saying the nicest things I've ever said to my mum, saying, if she when she goes in the bath, does she turn into a mermaid? But because that's how stupid and movie magic always blew me mind, like these things. So for a long time afterwards, I thought all women were mermaids. So I was just waiting to splash them.
We are not. No, sadly.
No. It's a secret that could come out there.
Or are we?
Yes. But I know we're going to talk about a lot of different movies, but I remember as a kid, and this is going to say so wrong, because back then Tom Hanks was the TV equivalent to any type of bank holiday or Sunday watching. His movies used to be on say on the TV, and parents used to feel safe watching it. My mum and dad made the mistake of getting a movie because it had Tom Hanks in and let me watch it. And they probably shouldn't have, because I was very, very young to watch it. It's probably came out at the time there was raunchy comedies like Porky's and stuff like this. Have any of you seen Bachelor Party?
And I knew you were going to say Bachelor Party when you were saying, "Oh, they made the mistake of getting this."
Yeah.
My God, how old were you?
I was under the age of 10. Put it that way.
Oh.
So yes,
I've never seen it.
It is
It's been a long time.
It is one of the most awkward things you could watch, probably with a kid or with your parents. It is in essence Tom Hanks being going off to his bachelor party, but announcing that he was marrying his girlfriend and saying, "Oh yeah," to all his mates, saying, "We're going to get married in 2 weeks." It's like, wait there, how long does the marriage take proposal? And then you've got her family basically hating Tom Hanks because he's basically one of the lads, very immature, he's basically me and Lee, to be fair. All the types of jokes and comments. And then it goes through, they go get whores in the film. They get the parents go to a strip club and the mom starts pulling on someone who's called the Dick, and he's basically
Nick the Dick.
Nick the Dick.
She's like, is that a foot long
Dick
to the hot dog? And he's like, and then some.
Yeah, and he's just pulling on his dick, and you're like, oh god. And then to the point where not just boobs but full frontal nudity is in as well. So, and it's like, this was a Tom Hanks movie. But yes, Bachelor Party was very much an uncomfortable thing for me watching back in the day, and I tried revisiting it.
Was it uncomfortable for you, or just uncomfortable for your parents?
It was uncomfortable for my parents, but I remember how got to a stage and it was like turning the telly off and saying, "Nope, we can't watch this anymore." But
my dad used to tell me to put my fingers in my ears for swear words and close my eyes, and I was like, "What's going on here? I'll do it."
But yes. Splash was a good one, but I didn't realise that Splash was only Tom Hanks' second movie that he made.
Yes, I've got his list here. He only did He Knows You're Alone before that. I've never heard of it.
He's in it for about 5 minutes. I didn't watch it, I just watched the Tom Hanks scene.
Didn't he have a long-standing TV show before that? Before he
made...
did...
I know when he first started out, he was very careful with the choices he made, because he didn't want to get typecasted. That was the thing that Tom Hanks was always scared of, is being known as the silly man, or known as the jock, or
it's a horror.
Yeah,
He Knows You're Alone is a horror. Holy shit! It's a slasher. I did not. Wow. Okay.
You'll have to go back and watch it now, Sammy.
Yeah, definitely.
Just to see for that 5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure he did a television show before he got into movies, because that's how he knows the Marshalls, Penny Marshall and a brother. But I can't see anything on his like. It's not. It just goes straight into his movies.
I mean, it was definitely like Happy Days because that's how he met Ron Howard, and Ron Howard did Splash, and was just like, "Oh, we'll get this guy in. He was class." He did do something called Mazes and Monsters between He Knows You're Alone and Splash. I had to turn it off. It was so bad.
Yeah, that was one of the ones I actually watched before this because I'd never seen it before. You can definitely tell it's a very early 80s. The production values and stuff. Yeah.
It looked like it was filmed on one of those old Game Boy cameras.
Yeah.
Oh, like a potato camera.
So this is always going to be the hard question to ask as well. Which version of Tom Hanks is your favourite? Do you like comedy Tom Hanks? Do you like serious Tom Hanks? Do you like?
So hard to say because the range of them is different in every single one. I don't even think I could give you a straight answer for that one. Well, I really couldn't.
So I'll try and make it easier for you then. Which decade is your favourite Tom Hanks?
Again, so hard to say because there's at least one or two in each decade, probably even more, that stand out.
Well, put it this way, from like say we'll go from the 80s. These are the big hitters: Splash, The Money Pit, Dragnet, Big, The Burbs, Turner and Hooch. Like anyone who had just them film credits them alone, that would be enough to like say legendary status. You wouldn't be able to like nobody would have a back catalogue as good of just the movies from the 80s. Then
it just gets better though. The 90s
It's like it doesn't get worse. Yeah. But it like in some people's careers, it goes from like brilliance, and then they just can never quite reach what they had. And he just keeps taking that stepladder and going, "Fuck, I'm just going to keep on going up."
Yeah.
But then
he doesn't have a year where it's a bad year for him.
No, that's a good point. But then you get like the serious year, shall we say? Well, it starts off with the rom-coms, like you say. Well, not the rom-coms, like still in comedy, A League of Their Own, which isn't a Tom Hanks movie. It's more he's the side, but it is a brilliant movie. Then you get Sleepless in Seattle. Then we get The Big Jump, The Big Brave, like going from like Tom Hanks being safe to get Philadelphia. Like
I do want to talk about Philadelphia.
We definitely will, like, because I know how much you love that film. Then we'll get like Forrest Gump, Apollo 13, and then like I say, probably like I'll dare say it, Tom Hanks's biggest movie he ever made. He'll never surpass this, which is Toy Story.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were going to say The Green Mile. I was like, yes, you are absolutely right.
Toy Story, can't beat. Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. It's not my favorite of his, which my dad nearly took the side of my face off last night when I told him that. But I get it.
You can't deny how big an impact Toy Story's had.
No,
absolutely not.
Changed animation, like after Toy Story, nothing was never going to be the same. Like 2D animation died when Toy Story was made. Sorry, that's just facts.
Yeah.
Then we get like say go back to like a little smaller film, but still brilliant. That Thing You Do, which is one of the most catchiest songs you'll ever hear.
That is his film. It's not just him in it. That is his movie.
Yeah,
he wrote it. He directed it. It is one of my fucking favorites. I made Unfortunate not long ago.
I've not seen that.
Oh,
it is so good.
It is good, very good. Especially
but he isn't actually in it that much.
But when he's in, because again, you asked the question before: has Tom Hanks played a bad guy? I would say yes. He is the bad guy in that movie.
He's not.
Watch it. He is a dodgy record producer. He takes advantage of the kids.
Of course, he's just a bad guy, not a villain. He's just a bad guy. He's just an asshole.
He's the villain in the movie.
He's also, which nobody knew about, and because he deleted the scene out, he was a gay asshole in that movie.
All right.
He had a very handsome husband, and the studio decided to cut that scene out, and he was fucking furious because he was like, and there's no way in this world I'd ever pull a man like him, and he's cutting it out, and no one's going to be able to see it because he was apparently beautiful.
Interesting.
So there you go. Interesting facts for you.
Interesting facts. Sammy's coming back with the facts. It's
shit.
What's she done? What's the cat doing?
Lamp over.
Everything just lit up there.
Lamp over.
It's fine. But then, like I say, from that, you get Saving Private Ryan. You've got Meal, Toy Story 2, The Green Mile, which basically changed a lot of things and give Stephen King a lot more success than he had been having for a long time. Yeah. And then we go into the 2000s with Castaway, which how hard that must have done, just like have Tom Hanks by himself.
That's your favourite one.
That's your favourite one.
Right, yeah.
And then, like say, Catch Me If You Can, the flop that was The Ladykillers. I'm sorry, The Ladykillers didn't work.
I didn't watch it.
No, but then The Brilliant Terminal, Polar Express. I could just keep listing these movies off. Then not even talking about like the Da Vinci Code, like how crazy, like say that franchise was. Even if you're not a fan of the books, he was even like, was he in Mamma Mia? I've never seen Mamma Mia.
No, he wasn't.
He's credited. Oh, executive.
Is
sorry,
he
was executive producer. Yeah. Yes, sorry. And then it gets like say a few of the weird ones like Cloud Atlas, which was just bonkers. I'll be honest with you.
I loved it.
I've heard it's batshit crazy to the point where you're like, fuck yeah, this is really good.
I think that's probably why I liked it. That's also another one that I watched in prep for this.
Is that the reincarnation one where I haven't seen it, but it's on my list.
Certainly.
It looks good.
But looking back, because I know we're just talking about the man and his movies, like because we could have easily what would have been hard to do tonight would be a top 5. Yeah. This would have been my general nightmare. I don't think I could have done this one. I probably would have just give up at a certain point because I would have just went, oh, I love this movie. Do I love this one more? It's like loving your cats. Which cat do you love more than the others? Type thing. You can't.
At the moment, Beatrice, because she's not wrecking my living room.
You will have kittens, though. That's the thing.
They're going nuts.
So again, just to play devil's advocate as well, which ones would you say is your favourites? If you had a pick, we'll go with Lee first.
I've done a top 5 just in case.
All right.
Oh, look at him! Look what's he doing? He's professionally prepared.
I've got a whole spreadsheet here with every single film that he's done.
Oh my god! You and Dan would get on famously because she's a spreadsheet queen.
Number 5, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Right.
Because
wow,
what a film! It's so nice, and I feel.
Sorry, Lee. Can I just ask? Because we're English, Mr. Rogers is not in. He's not a thing for us. Did you find that hard to watch it, knowing that you don't know, you don't have what the Americans have with Mr. Rogers, or was it just a really good watch?
It was amazing. I had no idea who Mr. Rogers was. I'd only ever heard him mentioned in Demolition Man with Wesley Snipes saying, "Oh, you're like an evil Mr. Rogers." That's the only reference I'd heard to him in my life. But no, it's just. The whole film is just so nice from start to finish, and Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. It like just everything he says kind of stays with you, and I feel like I came out of the film a better person.
Does it reaffirm your faith in human nature?
Yes. Bless. Are you proud of him, Bex? He's a better person of watching a movie now. Right. So that's your number 1.
That was me number 5.
Number 5. Sorry.
Number 4, Saving Private Ryan.
Okay.
I'm not a war film person, but my God, that film like makes you feel like you were there, and like the people walking around the beach, like picking their arms up.
Yeah,
that opening scene is horrific.
I've got to be honest, I couldn't sit through the opening scene. I've never actually managed to watch all of.
I don't blame you.
Private Ryan.
It's so brutal.
A lot of people walked out the cinema not because it was how brutal it was, it's because of how it was filmed that made them seasick. And like say with camera angles and stuff.
Yeah, I get really bad motion sickness. Even watching ants play Fortnite can turn me out to make us physically sick. But it's so real, and the anxiety is just built up straight away. But then it kind of like you come back down. You're allowed to come back down again, so it's not constantly on that level of anxiety.
I've got a funny story about Saving Private Ryan. It involves like one of mine and Sammy's friends.
Which one?
Claire Davison. No, I know it's not Davison now.
One of my best friends. Yes.
When Saving Private Ryan came out, we were meant to have a date to go to the pictures.
It's then Claire.
Yep.
My Claire.
Yep. I've been with a lot of women. Don't worry, Sam. It's fine. Well, we were teenagers back then. so we're meant to have like a date, and I turned up at what time I thought we were meeting her, and she didn't show up. So some of my friends walked past, so we went to the pictures to see Saving Private Ryan. Went to school on Monday. I was in a huff, and turns out she was in a huff because she was there an hour later. So we got the times mixed up.
You fucking idiots.
Yes. So we rearranged for the weekend after, and we went to see Ants, which wasn't as good, but yeah. So yes.
You learn something new every day.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like it makes you realize, like, every other war film, it's always like, oh, here's the soldiers doing the thing. But then Tom Hanks is just a school teacher, isn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing
These
through
are
it.
the men
like
who were enlisted.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just goes back to normal people instead of like the war, which takes it away from being a war film.
It humanizes it because you do just generally in war films think these guys signed up for this is their job. But in actual fact, these men were enlisted. They had no fucking choice. They had to leave their world behind. And it was lovely that they did actually like go into everyone. Not just him, it was everyone and what their life was outside of this.
I'm going to ask a really important question there. Was Matt Damon worth it?
Nah. The minute I saw him, I'd have went, nah, you're all right. Let's go, kids. We're off.
I think with me, I find it difficult to sit and watch that one because I've heard a lot of people say that it was kind of like a lot more true to life than some of the other war movies that you've seen. And I mean, me personally, I've done tours of the beaches in France and the D-Day beaches and the museums around there. So kind of like, I mean, they had an absolutely profound effect on me. So it was kind of like scary the shit that these young men went through.
Yeah,
and I think because of that connection to like how real life the movie is what's kind of made me uncomfortable to watch it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, oh my god, what an awful thing to do.
It'll
go through.
It'll completely sit with you. I love the fact in that movie that it could have been anyone, didn't have to be him. It could have been absolutely anyone who needed to get back to their mom, and they needed something to believe in.
Yeah.
They needed to. It's like they almost knew that they were going to be okay, but if they weren't, that was okay.
Yeah.
It was like they had like this such acceptance of life and death that it's so beautiful to watch. I do hold that film in high regard. I wouldn't go out my way to say if we were reviewing it, I would watch it for that.
Yeah.
But it's such that opening scene alone just makes us think, I can watch the most brutal horror movie and think nothing of it, but when you watch something that you know is very real life, it's a hard one to watch.
Yeah,
probably
such a good choice, Lee.
I would probably watch
I think that's why I've put it in my top 5, because it's so realistic. It's not even like watching a film. It's a cinematographic masterpiece, basically.
Yeah, quite honestly, if it came on the big screen, I possibly would go and see it then.
That's
just
probably
to experience it.
that's what I was going to say. I would go and see it on the big screen again, but I wouldn't just watch it on the TV.
No.
If anything, it's worth watching it just to see Vin Diesel get shot.
Always a good point.
The amount of actors that's in that movie as well. And I did remember as well, because this got made, we got the brilliant TV show Band of Brothers. So that kind of followed on as well.
I did watch that.
Which Tom Hanks is in that as well, uncredited.
He's also like executive producer or director. He's got something big to do with it. Like big, get it? Something to do with it. I never watched it. It passed us by. It wasn't until like years later because I wasn't really a telly person back in the day. So if if it wasn't on Kerrang or Scuzz, I wasn't watching it. But yeah, was that such a good choice? Was that number 4?
Number 4. And number 3. Cast Away. It's only him by himself, but still, my God.
It's like an acting class, isn't it?
Yes.
It holds your attention for the whole movie as well, though. And I love
it that to end.
And I love it that, like, because all the way through you want them to get back to Helen Hunt's character. It was Helen Hunt, wasn't it? I think because I always get her and Holly something mixed up.
Helen is from Twister.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah. And basically you want to get back, and he gets back to her, but life moves on, and that was great thing. It's like, yes, we thought you were dead, and it's sad, but that acceptance and stuff was like nice, because that they could have done the whole Harry Matt Sally ending where, oh yes, went back and love and thing, but life doesn't work like that.
No.
So after the shit that he's been through and surviving, which is amazing, and they've made a host of TV shows back on that. Like I say, we wouldn't get Survivor or Naked and Afraid if it wasn't for Castaway type thing. But yeah, I love that movie.
I watched it once. I've only ever seen it the once with Anthony. I loved it. It was almost like he was living in that moment, but like living his life. And I didn't want him to leave that experience, because it just felt like that was the most authentic side of him, was when he was on that island and when he was with Wilson.
And also one of the worst scenes I've ever seen, with the skate and the tooth. Just so disturbing.
It says something when I can remember a movie of one watch years ago. So that it's clearly stuck with us.
Yeah.
But I love the scene when Wilson disappears as well. That
Rumham!
Rumham!
It's been the piss take out of it so much, but you genuinely feel like your heart breaking when Wilson is just drifting away as well. See if I can find anything there as well. Bear with me. No, I don't think I'm gonna. No, sorry. I thought I was going to see if I can actually get the clip up, but because I didn't actually get any clips for today. I ran out of time. Sorry. I was going to say,
don't ever apologize. We can talk about the clips. Yeah. we can give you a step-by-step guide of the clips.
I'm sure we could recreate a few of them as well.
Yes.
We do have A. Wilson, so Lee, recreate the scene.
Give you a thing. Put you on big screen there, Lee.
No, don't. Please don't.
Put him on the spot now.
Go on, recreate the Wilson getting away. I want to see the tears. Pretend Goodwill's driving away and leaving you.
God, Wilson!
Oh, that was beautiful.
You are such a good sport, mind. I'd have told him to fuck off.
That's why Lee is my new favourite.
I am doing some amazing puns tonight.
Bless you. But yes, so that was number 3.
Number 2, A League of Their Own.
Very good.
Yes, Lee.
Like, I did not expect to like this film. It was like, I'm not a sports person. I don't watch sports, but
you'll watch ladies play sports, but in a not a creepy way, but in a good way.
It wasn't even that. It was just like, I was looking through like all the list of things to watch. This came up, and like I got to this film, and it was like, my God, like I felt like an empowered woman by the end of it.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Lee. I made Anth watch this not long ago, and even I think we watched this and then That Thing You Do straight afterwards. And it was almost one of those moments where he was just about to leave and go on his computer, and he just couldn't take his eyes off, and then slowly crept back down into his chair, and he didn't move.
Oh, what was the song though in League of Their Own?
This used to be my playground. That one. This used to be my childhood dream.
Oh no, that's the Thing You Do, but the Batters Up one.
That was A League of Their Own.
Yeah, that's
what I've just sang there. That was Madonna. That Thing You Do was doing that thing you do, 'cause we won't be happy, can't you see? I fucking hate that I know the lyrics to that.
Apparently, Madonna was horrible behind the scenes.
That doesn't surprise me in the
She didn't want anything to do with anyone.
I've heard that on more than one occasion.
They were having long shoot days, and people were like performing, and like I think Tom Hanks was doing like a puppet show or something. They asked Madonna to sing some songs, and she said no and just left.
Yeah.
So other people started dressing up as Madonna with like the cone boobs and stuff, and singing her songs instead.
The thing is, what she needed to realize on that movie, she had bigger stars than her.
Yeah, Gina Davis.
Gina Davis, Laurie Petty, Rosie O'Donnell. Even Rosie O'Donnell was bigger than her.
Yeah.
Tom fucking Hanks.
I've got the words up now. Batter up, hear that call.
That one.
The time has come for one and all to play ball. So we're the members of the All-American team. We come from cities near and far.
We've got
Canadians, Irish ones, and Swedes.
Yep.
We're all for one, all American.
So one of Tracy Reiner who is the daughter of, help me out, Penny Marshall and Rob Reiner. Penny Marshall was one of Tom Hanks's bestest friends, biggest co-worker, is the director of A League of Their Own. Rob Reiner, who is huge star in himself, but their daughter is in A League of Their Own. She plays Betty Spaghetti. She has one of the most heartbreaking scenes in it. And every time that woman cries, I burst into tears.
It's just the feeling and the thought of like that happening as well, like in that type of environment. But it's a movie with that. Again, even as Lee said, you're not into sports stuff. You don't have to be. It's just got heart. That's the thing. Yeah. That's the thing. It's got a proper heart and soul to it. That you feel it, and I absolutely love that movie as well.
Tom Hanks isn't even in it for like the first half an hour.
No,
or
he's
something.
not.
He is. He's just pissed.
He probably did it as a favour to Penny Marshall. Penny Marshall is the director of Big as well. She is also, if you want to know who she is visually, she's in Laverne and Shirley, but we're not. That's more of an American thing. For us, Hocus Pocus. Her and her brother is the devil, and the wife is Penny Marshall, who comes down the stairs and screaming all hell. That is Penny Marshall. She is the director of Big and A League of Their Own. Very sadly missed. She was such a fucking talent. I didn't know she was married to Rob Reiner though, which makes sense now that I know her daughter's name. Never mind.
So Lee, what's your number one?
Forrest Gump. Like, how can it not be?
Yes.
Fucking amazing.
So me and Lee's going to fall out because he hasn't picked a single 80s movie, so he can get fucked.
No, Lee, you can say it, because that is that's a good...
I took Turner and Hooch out, and I took Bachelor Party out. Like, I was writing them all down, and I had
Bachelor Party's not a good movie. I'm sorry, it's not a good movie. I'm not.
Oh, it is. It's hilarious.
It's not.
I feel like
but to Lee, it could have been the best movie. I mean, thank God it's not. But
no.
Forrest Gump, what a fucking choice. Do you know who they were intended on having as Forrest Gump?
Me.
No. John Goodman.
Right.
He was the first choice. Because in the book, he is a bigger guy. And that's the whole inspirational story, is because he's bigger and he did all these amazing things in the run and everything. And it was going to be John Goodman. And he turned it down. And that's when they went in a different direction.
Kelly's pointing out that Jenny's the villain in the film.
Jenny is the villain. Fuck Jenny.
The biggest villains.
Well, wasn't it? I think that's the problem. What happened with Jenny? She got anyway.
Yeah. But, I honestly love Forrest Gump. We were talking about Tom Hanks movies last night when I was out, and this was the first one. I couldn't not say Forrest Gump straight away. It's brilliant. It's all, and people really don't like this movie.
I think because it shows America in a certain light. Like,
yes, that's what Michaela said.
Well,
that's what I was saying. Like, people always say, "Oh, it's showing America as being revolutionary," or it shows the bad side of America as well. It probably feels simple, but as an outsider looking in, it is an interesting take throughout their history and like some of the big points as well. But I do love it. I can rewatch it and stuff as well. And I think Tom Hanks is absolutely brilliant, and I love like, I think it was the movies that made us. They done like the episode on Forrest Gump, and there's things that they said about this, how close this movie came to not being made. Like, literally everyone thought it was going to bomb. Like, the only two people that actually believed in it was the director and Tom Hanks.
Who did direct Forrest Gump?
Was it Robert Zemeckis? It could have been.
Oh yes, it is. It's Zemeckis. Yeah.
Zemeckis. But basically, Tom Hanks like foregoed his paycheck like at the start to basically finance the movie, because they were going to pull out, because after they do the stills, like the dollies or something, like the first shots, everyone in the back office and thing heard Tom Hanks's accent and went, "This is not going to work. This is absolutely ridiculous. People aren't going to be paying money to watch like Tom Hanks speak this way." And by, I think it was day 2, the whole cast and crew were copying his accent. So the point
the thing was, it wasn't even Tom Hanks that put that accent into the movie.
It was the kid, wasn't it?
It was the kid, because he was struggling to do a different accent. So Tom Hanks just said, "I'll match your accent instead."
Yeah. Let's make it easy for the kid.
Well, like peas and carrots again.
Yeah, but that's the thing though, because everyone was doing that, and then it made it realize, and like, if you think about like a marketing type of process, you think, this is going to be money. People's going to be talking about this. People are going to do the accents. That's just going to feed in and move it across. And that was one of the big things, I think. And I love the little stupid things in it. Like, I got shot in the buttocks.
Buttocks. Gary Sinise in this movie is fucking sublime.
He's brilliant in it.
And I have a lot of time for Gary Sinise, especially in his acting. Lieutenant Dan. But what's really special about Tom Hanks, the little kid who plays him, went off to the Marines, I think.
All right.
Think so.
Yeah, and when he came back for his passing out ceremony, Tom Hanks was there to meet him. He always sends him these badges from wherever he is. They have such a good relationship, and all because of that one movie, which that kid would not have spent a lot of time on set. They were getting his bits out of the way with, and he'd be gone. And so that is just so special that them two still have that connection years later. I think Robin Wright, for all Jenny is, technically
we all love
a
Robin
villain,
Wright anyway.
Yeah,
but I do love Robin Wright in this movie. She is quite unrecognizable, really, when you look at other stuff that she's done. She's a bit of a chameleon in this.
Very much so.
But she's very much of her time, Jenny, as a character.
What did you feel about that they were going to plan on doing a sequel to this?
I don't know.
I'm not sure on how I feel about it.
There is a book.
Yeah, there is a sequel to the book, yeah.
And they were going to...
It goes to space, I think.
There's a lot of different aspects, yeah.
Forrest goes to space.
I don't know if he went to space in the original in the book, and they just didn't put that bit in the movie.
But didn't Apollo 13?
Well... I know that the sequel screenplay was not done until 2001, so it was a couple of years after. Based on, what was a book called? Gump and Co.
Yeah, that's what it was called, Gump and Co. Because it was about him and his son. It was supposed to be like him growing up and like having the adventures with Forrest and stuff. But Tom Hanks was supposed to be involved with like making the sequel, but then it just never got off the ground.
Wasn't that the most special part, that he wasn't seeking adventures? The adventure just seeked him.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't going out of his way to like run or do the whole shrimp thing or go running or go to Vietnam. It just all came to him. And that was the miraculous part about it, is that he just, for a kid who had an IQ of 75, he still did all these amazing things.
Well,
it's such a Homer Simpson thing, isn't it?
To be fair, though, that's just life. Because look at the podcast where we've come, and let's be honest, I'm not the cleverest of blokes. So
look at what you've pulled out your ass.
Literally,
I'm just looking at the side bit of tonight's setup, and I just absolutely love that you've got that black and white still of him at the bottom, and then Forrest at the top. That is beautiful. Beautifully put together.
Thank you very much. I still have got an eye for detail, but that's that thing. When I was putting the design together, like looking for images, I didn't want anything too striking, but I thought the two contrasted quite nicely, and it was quite nice to the eye as well. So yeah,
I do believe episodes like this, especially with Tom Hanks as the subject matter, it's not just let's talk about his movies. It's essentially a love letter, right? Like to Tom Hanks, because we cannot not say anything bad about what he has done in his career because of how brilliant he is.
Well, if we start talking about the lady killers, that might like go down. But yeah,
we might just skip that one out.
I still remember when we done the Kevin Smith episode. It was very much the same type of feel.
Yeah.
So that's Lee's top 5. I'm not going to ask Sarah.
Excellent.
Do I dare ask Sarah a top 5?
I know.
I don't have a top 5 prepped.
That's probably not a bad thing, Sarah, given that she's when you've done a top 5 plus. Yeah.
What's your number 1?
You know what? I found it very hard to choose, especially with rewatching The Burbs recently.
Yeah.
But I have gone with Forrest Gump as well, because it's the one that I think I've probably watched the most out of all of his movies, and the one I remember the most of as well.
Yeah.
If you had
it's just such a memorable movie, and I mean, as you were saying, all the fantastical stories that Forrest went through, and there's so many quotable elements of it. I mean, who doesn't know life is like a box of chocolates?
Who still doesn't use it as well?
You never know what you're going to get.
It's such a difficult film to describe to people, though. Like if someone says, "Oh, what's this about?" and it's like,
this man
it's this guy and he does things.
Yeah. many things, a lot of things, but how clever was this movie in its making when you've got Forrest sitting next to John Lennon, you've got Forrest shaking hands with presidents who are no longer either here. I don't even know which president it is, but
It's
yeah,
Kennedy,
like
I think
shaking
it
hands.
was.
JFK
Little
was in
things
it.
like have a
Yes,
nice
when he
day.
and the little girl the black little girl in America who was denied school to go into the school, and he just fucking picks a book up and hands it to her.
Yeah.
And it's just sheer brilliance. And for a movie of its like of the 90s, you don't you wouldn't expect that amount of detail.
Teaching Elvis how to dance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who played Elvis
Kurt
then?
Russell.
Kurt Russell
was the voice, but he wasn't the actor.
He wasn't the person. That's right. Because Kurt did play Elvis in another movie, and I can't remember. It kept coming up every time I tried to watch the new one, the Baz Luhrmann Elvis. That the Kurt Russell one kept coming up,
that
but I knew
Tom
he had
Hanks
something
is
to do
also
with
in.
it.
Yes.
Yes, he is.
As the Colonel. But
he's also Elvis has left the building as well. He's in that as an Elvis impersonator. Tom Hanks.
I think he's got a thing for Elvis, mind you.
I
don't know.
Kelly's just said in the chat, the soundtrack for this as well is one of the best soundtracks up there as well. If you're going through, especially if you like that type of music as well, going from like Vietnam, like for the swinging 60s to the 80s and stuff like that. All the tracks in just fit perfectly, and it was such a nice feel. And again, it's not an easy watch. Like, say, it's one of those movies where it does have uncomfortable tones, and it's not scared to push the boundaries and stuff like that. Showing the AIDS virus the way it did as well, like a lot of films would have been scared to show that and show it as graphic as they did, and like how painful. Like, say, the ending, it wasn't a happy ending. Like, fair enough, he got his son, but it wasn't like a happy journey. He got a lot of different things, but yeah, I do like it. I wouldn't put it, to be honest, like, say, if you put a gun to me head, and I'll be brave now, I'm just going to go with the top 5, like, say, Tom Hanks films, like, just straight off the top of my head. I'd probably just go Big, number 1. Absolutely love it. The Burbs. Dragnet, just simply because it is so outlandishly funny and just outrageously good. The Green Mile, just because that film will break you in so many different ways that you cannot even comprehend. And then the last pick would always be the hard one, but I'd probably go back to the 80s just for the Money Pit, just for how outlandishly and how stupid it is. So my top 5 has got 4 80s movies, so it's about on point. But yeah, I do love Forrest Gump, but I love Tom Hanks when he's being silly and zany and stuff more, I guess, for me. What about you, Sam?
So if I had to make a list, it would be Forrest Gump, not in any particular order, but mainly my last one's going to be my favourite. Forrest Gump, A League of Their Own, A Green Mile, Apollo 13. Apollo 13. The one that I really love more than any, and probably is in my top wheelhouse, because I even watched it the other day for no reason, just to watch it. And it's one of the most depressing movies, not just a Tom Hanks movie, but depressing and sad movies of all time, is Philadelphia. I absolutely adore this film so much. Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington made such a brave choice making this movie, because this could have fucking killed them off.
Yeah, it's scary how terrified he was before making this movie, because everyone who, like, agents, everyone in Hollywood said this is going to kill your career.
Yeah, this is a career killer, and everyone had a red cross next to them, ready to write them off. Tell you what though, fucker won an Oscar for it.
Yep.
So, and he well deserved. It was brave. It was incredibly, and the whole cast were absolutely fantastic. It is loosely based off a true story, but the gut punch. So you are riding this whole thing. You're angry. If you're as like-minded as I am, you are angry. You are fucking raging that this could happen to him. And you are so angry throughout the trial that you forget that he is dying in front of your eyes. And you can see the change and progression in him as the movie goes on. And the gut punch is right at the end. It's not even when he's in the hospital bed and he is on he's on his last days. And when Denzel finally touches him and puts the mask on his face, not even then, it's the videotapes of him growing up, fucking punches you in the stomach like, shit, he's gone. He's actually gone. And that's when it gets us. And every time I sob my eyes out. I know what I'm in for when I'm going to watch it. I know exactly when it's going to happen, but I still sit and watch it because I just think it's such a powerful movie that has some fucking fantastic acting in it. Denzel, especially, Tom Hanks is brilliant, but Denzel was on a tightrope as well.
But that's the thing. I think with Tom Hanks, he was always not seen as leading man material, like for things. Like, he was done for comedy, but you never saw him like. After Philadelphia, he kind of broke through, and that's when like the more interesting roles and things dominated. But as you said, probably the bravest man in Hollywood to make that decision, especially going from comedy rom-coms to fucking Philadelphia. Like, nobody makes that kind of like jump or progression unless
it was such a scary subject to be talking about in the first place.
And at the time as well,
where he has to open his shirt in the courtroom for all his lesions.
Oh, when they think they can't see them because he tries
horrible.
to play off that you can't really
not
make
the
them
lesions
out.
that are horrible. It's like just like this poor guy.
The vulnerability of it all.
The woman lawyer, she hated herself for that. Like, she felt bad just doing it. And I think the director said, just put that in. So when she walks back, she's like, I can't remember what she says. She's like,
she says that. She says, I absolutely hate this, or something along the lines like that. But yeah, that one's uncomfortable because he tries to make out like, oh, it's just lesions. You can't really make them out. And he's like, all right, then I'll show you. And he exposes his chest to it, and you could. It's the vulnerability of him sitting in that chair.
Yeah.
I love his family. I love Andy's family in that.
I do find a bit of comedy in that film somewhere. Just the fact that behind the scenes, Tom Hanks was told he had to lose like 30 pounds or something, and Denzel Washington was told he had to put weight on. So Tom Hanks is starving, and Denzel Washington's apparently just sitting next to him eating chocolate,
smashing burgers and that.
Guy.
Bless him. Tell you what, though, I like just thinking, because as you said, with the risk and with like the subject matter is that was made in 1993. Only like say, just getting out the 80s, out of the AIDS crisis, and like what went through at that time.
You're just in it at this point. You are literally the early 90s is when, if I don't know, we'll never remember it, but the AIDS adverts were coming on the telly. The big A. But yeah, it was like late 80s, early 90s, and the 90s. It was rife. The problem is with the AIDS epidemic, you'll never know the true figure of how many people died because they covered it up. Family members covered up and said it was cancer.
I mean, the only reason I was aware of it at all was because of Freddie Mercury 2 years before the movie. That was the only reason I knew what this movie was about, really.
No, definitely. And for him to go for it and, like, say, stick the landing as well. So I'm glad, like, it showed what he did, because he could have been staying in the Harry Met Sally realm for a lot of years after, because he was like hitting on like the romantic comedy where people love to see him in that type of movie as well. But yeah, like, I'll always give the dues. I know how much you love this movie as well. Like when we've talked about it like previously, something that you've always like harped on.
People don't understand why, because of the subject matter. But it's like, then you're not watching the true story of it. Then if all you can take away is just the subject matter, then you're not looking at the friendship side, the fact that a man who is who should know better when it comes down to intolerance still can't tolerate what he's having to work with until he starts to get to know it. It's such a brilliant movie and such a great acting experience to watch them two. I have a lot of time for Denzel as well, probably more than what I think I do. And it all stems from Philadelphia.
Now, here's a question for you as well. Take away Philadelphia as the most shocking performance, that like surprising performance that Tom Hanks did. What other movie performance or role that Tom Hanks did surprised you out of the most, like what you weren't expecting to see? So I'll go with Lee, with him being the big his spreadsheet guy there.
I'll have to have a think.
I know, it's pretty hard, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a few where it's like, oh, I didn't expect that. Like the Terminal, where he's like I can't remember where he's from. Like it's somewhere Russian.
It was in the Baltic area, shall we say? I think. But it's a true story, though. That's a true story.
He would get people coming up to him and going, Mr. Hanks, I'm terminal too, and just walk away from him.
Yeah, but that's a true story. The Terminal. Someone actually did that.
I didn't realize it was a true story.
Yeah, that was based on someone was on holiday and flew in the airport, and they wouldn't let him transport because the country had basically been took over and didn't exist anymore. So he was stuck. I've
never actually seen The Terminal.
It's in theory it sounds awful, but it's one of the most heartfelt and very much on the same wavelength as probably a wonderful a Day in the Neighborhood, that the Mr. Robinson story.
Right. Yeah, like a feel goody kind of.
Very much so. It's just a hard working bloke going through everything as well. But yeah, The Terminal's an interesting one. I wasn't expecting to like that as much as I did as well. And Catherine Zeta-Jones is good in it as well.
Yeah,
Catherine Zeta-Jones. I have very little opinion on her. It's such a hard one, but I'm gonna have to say the one that really got me in the face was A Green Mile.
Right. Okay. But was that surprising though, or just because
I don't know. It's such a that's such a hard question. Because no, it's not surprising.
I'm gonna have to honestly, the things that Kelly's saying in chat at the minute, I'm taking words out of her mouth and she's taking words out of mine. I actually agree with her on that one, saying him accepting the role of a cowboy doll. Because he's like, from his history, he's used to being in front of the camera. I don't know if it was his first voiceover work.
Yeah.
For a movie, but it was certainly one of the ones that it exploded him in for a new generation.
It took him to heights that he probably would. It took him to a new audience that he probably never thought he would ever reach.
Let's get this one out. Let's get this one out. It took him to infinity and beyond.
There we go. But if you think about it, can you imagine pitching this to Tom Hanks? Oh, I want you to play this little cowboy doll that comes to life when kids aren't around and they go on this adventure. But you're not going to be in the movie. We just want your voice.
I don't think anyone else could have played it though. Now watching Toy Story back, I don't think.
Watching it back, I agree with you. But I'm thinking more at the time when you're pitching it to Tom Hanks.
Yeah, getting him to do it. Like I say, they must have paid him some money as well. Kelly's going. Sorry, I had to do it. It was there. But no.
Can I change my mind? Wrote a petition. I completely forgot about that one.
You just took the words out of my mouth, Lee.
I've never actually seen it.
It's a comic.
It's essentially Tom Wick.
Tom Wick.
It is.
Tom Wick. It's just Tom Hanks versus the mob.
It's brilliant. It's actually based on a comic, but it has Paul Newman in as well, and he's absolutely brilliant. It was one of Paul Newman's last roles before he passed, I believe.
I didn't even recognize Paul Newman until the credits came up at the end. It was like,
it's brilliant. Just
didn't realize it was him.
It plays the Angel of Death, a hitman for the mob, who witnesses something, and Daniel Craig's the bad guy. He's Paul Newman's son, so they make a deal, and then they're going to take Tom Hanks's character out, and they kill his wife. So he's left with his kid and his son, and he's never bonded with his son because he's a stone cold killer. And Tom Hanks, as a murderous like man, like very emotionless, but also teaching his son basic how to drive, how to basically be a man, and like his son's only 12. But as Lee said, it's the most un-Tom Hanks role you'll ever see because he's not laughing, he's very serious, and he's very scary in it at times as well because he's a man with no morals, desperate at the same time as well.
Yeah,
Not
I think
just Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
Jude Law plays pretty much the same role as Tom Hanks in that. Maybe he's even a little bit darker.
Mm.
And that's weird for Jude Law because Jude Law's always like this really nice guy in films as well, as far as I can think.
Yeah, because Jude Law's playing like a killer as well, where he takes photographs of the victims, and he's taking a photograph of this death scene. That one person's like waking up and alive, and all he does is walk over instead of helping him, puts a handkerchief over his face to smother them, and it's done in the non-aggressive but most violent way, and it's it's one of those sleeper hits that passes you by, but I would certainly recommend it. It was like, as I said, it's a comic. It's based on a graphic novel.
Yeah, I knew that. I think that's what caught Ant's attention was when it came, but we never got round to watching it. It's like The Road. Is it The Road with Viggo Mortensen? But that was another one that sat on our list, and we never watched it. And they both sat together. Sorry, I'm having to use a laser pen to keep my cats away from some fucking wires that they're biting.
But yeah, if you were going to watch The Road, you'd probably be the most depressed person for at least a week afterwards. It's not a happy tale.
It was just I always remember that The Road Petition and The Road sitting, two DVDs would just sit near the DVD player. So we never got round to watching them.
So, because it's been mentioned a few times now, and like with it being Sarah's pick, like is unusual. Like the whole, like what we got before, like in animation wise, and then what we got after, like how much Toy Story changed the game, not just because of the look, but I think it's down to the two actors who are in it, like Tim Allen and Tom Hanks, like what they brought to the role and their personality as well. Like I can't believe, like every time we get like an end to Toy Story, I think they can't do that better. And again, I know me and Sam will have an argument here. She loves Toy Story 4. I think it's okay, but it shouldn't have ended. It should have ended after 3 because Toy Story 3 was literally.
Then you wouldn't have Toy Story 4. Toy Story 4 is just the best. Well, even Michaela was like, "Why Toy Story 4?" And I was like, I fucking love it. I could get away with not watching the first 3 and be fine with that, but take Toy Story 4 away from us, I'll be fucking furious. I have never laughed so much at a Toy Story movie to where I was in pain. It's so funny.
I love that though about you though. So again, I would never like dish you or thing, but the fact that you do love it that much.
Bree just felt like an emotional ride towards the end. And if I watched 4 first, I think I would have been fine. And then but it felt like the end, and it was like my childhood was leaving with that film. And then for it to come back again, it was like, I have to do this again.
Were you
said bye.
I've already done this once.
Yeah.
Why?
And have you heard the rumors now as well?
Come back.
Getting Toy Story 5 soon.
Yes. If Duke Kaboom's in it, we're all good. We're there. I'm there. But honestly, I like the Toy Story movies. You'd be lying if you said you didn't. But I don't have such an affinity like what Paul does with them, and what my dad loves them. But when I never got 3. I never understood why everyone fucking broke their hearts over 3. I must have been the most coldest person in the room watching number 3 because I just sat there emotionless.
Well, to be fair, 3 had 2 moments that don't deserve to be in a kid's movie at all. Just because how crazy is the holding the hands going towards the furnace. Because like that was for us. That wasn't for kids. Kids aren't going to understand that. We were like, I was like, oh shit. And then when Andy plays with the toys for the last time, and you see the toys on the doorstep, like as Andy's driving away, that's been recreated so many times now for any kids that do the first year at school. Photos on Facebook. I don't know if you've seen it, like them doing where they put all the Toy Story toys with and wave the kid off to school, which is
goodbye.
Yeah.
I love that. Sarah, what need to do that with your children?
Which all 700 of them.
Because I'm not having
this
a child
number's
for that
getting
reason.
larger by the minute.
I told you you'd be having octuplets by the end of it.
I'm not.
So 4's your favourite one, Sammy? So 4's your favourite one?
Love it. It's about, I'm not joking. I remember when it came out, I watched it. I went to the cinema to see it with Carolyn. And the minute I got home, I was like, Anthony, we need to find a fucking copy of this. I need to watch it right now. And then I was like, Dad, I found a copy. I'm coming down. We're going to watch Toy Story 4.
So which is your favorite bad guy in Toy Story though? Because all the bad guys are good. Because you get
I do like Kelsey Grammer. His character, he was good.
Yeah.
Was he Thingy Pete or something like that? Was it called Pistol? No, it wasn't Pete.
Stinky Pete.
Stinky Pete. Because you had Stinky Pete. Then you had, what was it? Stu? Wasn't Stu? Sid from the first one.
Sid's my favourite one.
Have you seen they've released a Sid doll for the 100-year anniversary of Disney?
Yeah, he's also a character in the Oogie Boogie now. He came out last year, so he's now a character in the Oogie Boogie. But I'm laughing at Kelly saying that I've got a heart.
You've basically got no heart, Sammy.
But then Donna's right. If it was a cat or dog, I'd be in fucking hysterics.
But to be fair though, you can't get any better than the bad guy in 3. He's watching
that's a bear.
So is 3 yours, Paul?
No, number 1 will always be my favourite, just because of it.
Yeah.
It's a game changer.
I've never seen anything like that, and even if you made it 2D or live action, I think the story wise is better than any movie that we had, going before or going after. I generally think story wise, it's one of the best stories that Disney has done, even though it was Pixar technically type thing. But 3 is probably the one that's more emotional. Sorry, what?
Got a full-on brawl going down by my feet, by the way. It's reenacting a scene from the fucking Lion King.
It's fine. Lots of us watching as well, so watching them.
What's yours, Sarah? Number 1?
Oh, 1, yeah.
Yeah.
Just because...
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, it's
I'm
like you said, it was something... It was something completely new at the time, really.
Mm-hmm. I don't
Sets it all up.
Yeah, because say if you don't get Toy Story, you wouldn't have Monsters Inc. You wouldn't have Tangled. Probably a different version of Tangled type thing. You wouldn't have Frozen, so Michaela would be upset. Because I know how
that's the one that I got wrong for.
Sorry,
I'm sure Toy Story 2 is the one that's made the most money, though.
Is it?
Yeah,
that
which is weird
because the first one had to the first one, not everyone would have went to see it because everyone would have been like, "The fuck's that?" But then, then you get the end, the stragglers who come in, and then the second one's like, boom. Yeah, so I understand that.
But
I'm pretty sure it's his second highest earning movie after Forrest Gump. I think
he's got some coin mine, hasn't he?
It doesn't have to work, put it that way. But
yeah.
But I love the merchandise for Toy Story as well, the things that you could get. I've got my room's covered. I've got Slinky. I've got RC down there. I've got the original, not the remake, which kept the boxes for these ones. Buzz and Woody, the first go around when they came out, when they were absolutely impossible. People were fighting over the toys in the Disney store.
I did want a Buzz, and I'm talking when the movie first came out, Buzz was the toy of Christmas. And I remember watching GMTV and I was like, Dad, you've got to check the shops to see which, and he's like, you're a fucking teenager, you're not getting one. But Dad does have a Slinky dog. So when you go in my mum and dad's bedroom, because my mum's a minimalist, so there's fuck all in our room apart from she has pictures and that all over it. But she has a Bagpuss teddy bear and a Slinky dog sit on top of our wardrobe. Slinky dog's my dad's.
I was gutted I didn't get a Bullseye. I know Bullseye's come out, but he's all soft. But I want the harder, the plastic Bullseye. And I've seen Stinky Pete around as well, but I'll probably look to pick him. But yes.
I wanted.
I don't know how old everyone was when Toy Story came out. So this might be I don't know if this is a silly question, but did anybody else leave the toys in the room, walk out the bedroom, and then quickly run back in just in case they were moving?
To be fair, I used to have that type of imagination when I was a kid anyway, so I used to think
me too. They came everywhere with us. I'm trying to think, how old would I have been? What year was it? 95.
I didn't have any toys at the time.
Man.
13.
Yeah, I was
13, 14, yeah.
14, yeah. So probably not. My sister might have.
You've probably got them now. You've probably got them now. If, like, say, with Michaela had them, so you probably in the box somewhere.
You're probably. That's Sally. I still haven't brought that up to her. I'm fucking devastated. It's open.
I'm still gonna steal that. So, like, say, talking about Toy Story though as well. Like, one of my personal favorites is The Burbs. I do watch The Burbs probably once a year as well.
Yeah.
This was probably where I got into like a lot of people is gateway into horror as well, because there's a very spooky element and very creepy as well. I know, like, say, if we're talking about sequels like Toy Story, but not many of Tom Hanks' movies where he does get sequels or do sequels. But I would love now. I would be and people probably say, "Oh no, you can't do a sequel or can't do." I would love a TV show or a sequel to The Burbs, like just in that world. It doesn't have to be Tom Hanks in them or Corey Feldman.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be that family. Because
bring Corey Feldman back now. That would be hilarious. Seeing him dressed up as Michael Jackson, with his 16 wives.
Part of it is because the majority of the cast have passed away, sadly. It would be nice to be on that street with different families, but still have Corey Feldman sitting on the porch, even as an old man. He just never moved. That would be hilarious.
Just telling the story.
I finished painting the house.
Yeah.
Did he even get a script for that film? Because I feel like they just went,
Corey just
go and hang around with them.
Yeah.
It was just Corey Feldman all the way through.
Yeah, there was nothing. There was a great deal of acting on there, was there? I absolutely love his friend. And I can't think of what he died shortly after The Burbs. What was his name?
Corey Haim?
No,
he's
in The Burbs.
The chubby. I can't remember his name now.
Oh, I'm gonna find it because he's so good and he deserves to have his name said out loud. Got Bruce Dern's in it as well. I forgot about that. Art. Oh, how am I gonna? Rick Dunham. Rick Dunham.
Yeah.
He got Rick Dunham died in 2015.
Right.
Bloody hell.
Sam killing people off early, doing a Dunham.
I know. I generally thought he died shortly after The Burbs, but he does say my favourite line. Eat shit.
Was that the line?
What are you doing?
Still waiting for the line.
Satan is good. Satan is my pal. When they're trying to convince themselves that if you turn this record round the wrong way, that's what you're going to get, and clearly it's fucking not. I do love it when the pair of them do the whole trope of screaming and the camera like zooms in and out when they go, Walter!
There's a very Evil Dead aspect. But because back then we weren't getting many twist endings or like little things. It was normally as you played out, and all the way through it was like leading in these people are killers, and it was so you thought the ending was going to be that they're not. It's just the street is crazy, and with them turning out to actually have not killed Walter, but killed the Corpex who lived there before. I thought that blew my mind as a kid when I watched it. I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" And Tom Hanks's character through it, and it had the amazing Carrie Fisher in as well.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher played his wife. This was Carrie trying to break away from the Star Wars world. This was her trying. This was when Harry Met Sally, Drop Dead Fred. She was trying to move away from that side and try something different because she was anything that she was getting offered was to do with Star Wars. I swear to God, this cat's doing my tits in.
So I wasn't too impressed with Carrie Fisher in that film. Mainly just the end. What? The end when he's just came out the house and he's been blown up basically. He's covered in bandages. His clothes are ripped to shreds. He's covered in burns, and she goes, "Oh no, what have they done to you?" And that's it. It's not like, holy shit, what the fuck happened to you?
To be fair though, they probably did get divorced like 3 days after that what happened in the street, because no way was that a functioning relationship that was staying together, because they weren't happy. Tom Hanks wasn't happy.
What were you films watching? They were very much in love.
No, because Tom Hanks was like going through depression. That's why the whole thing. So it was very much. I blame Carrie Fisher's character for all of that. So.
Well, his character was going through depression.
Yeah, that's thing. Because he didn't want to go to the lake. He was going, I just want to stay at home. I just want a week off work. And then it turns into like say a week turned into a month, and he probably never went back to work, and he's probably dead now. Yeah.
Oh my God! You just killed him off in a second. Bruce Dern is fantastic in this movie as well. That military style guy who just never quite left whatever cadet system that he was in, because he's never seen war.
Yeah.
Like, and he's never been like in the army or anything. He's just like a cadet or something. I love his wife as well. I think she was fantastic. But this is a film that came to me quite late. It was only a few years ago. Anth introduced us to it, and it was just one of those that it literally did pass us by. It was always on Channel 4, and I just never went out my way to watch it until Anth made us, and he was like, "I see, bet you're glad you watched it now. But you kicked me so you didn't see it before." Like he always fucking does. But yeah, I love The Burbs.
I think
it'll be coming back on soon because I always watch it around Halloween.
Yeah, I think I don't think it's as controversial as it is now as it was back then. He did do a big, probably wouldn't say a risk, but he did take on something that a lot of shit would have. Well, he did get a lot of shit for. Was the Da Vinci Code and the Dan Brown stuff. Like some very hit and miss. Some movies I think is better than the others, but he always played Robert Langdon really well. And if you read the books, I think it's very much like nailed on the case. But again, taking on a big franchise like that, but knowing what's going to come as well, because there was a lot of controversy with the church condemning a lot of the movie and the book as well.
Well, I'm sorry, but the church can go and fuck themselves. And yeah, the only problem that I had with that movie was that fucking hairpiece. What was that shit? Like, I love these. My mum absolutely adores the books and the movies. Can't get enough of them, and I'm with that. I think they're absolutely brilliant. A big risk for him because it is. You're always going to have a divide when it comes down to this kind of thing. But it's that hairpiece. Fuck were they thinking? It was terrible.
I don't think it was his choice.
Let him have like normal hair.
But I'd say it was all because he was a Harvard scholar and stuff like that. But yeah, I enjoyed, like say, the Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons. I enjoyed, but I think they should have kept the original. Like, I would have loved to have seen him parachute out of a helicopter and like land into a lake. That would have been quite interesting to see.
Was there a third one to this?
There's been a few. Inferno came out as well.
Inferno. I don't think I've seen that one.
I've not seen that.
The book's not great, but the film, it's always a difficult one to watch.
I remember my mum trying to get us to read them, and I was like, "No, I'll just watch the movie. It's all right."
But I know we've talked.
I've not seen them.
I know we've talked a lot about, like say, a wide variety of his movies as well. Is there any that we've missed off that
Green Mile?
The Green Mile.
Oh yeah.
The Green Mile, one of his great. I just fucking love that film so much.
It's considered one of the greatest movies ever. It's usually at the top. Like, it's usually somewhere around first or second with Shawshank Redemption.
Oh yeah,
them two
especially when it comes to like King's movies, because they're very hit and miss.
So
like you can get it so right or so very wrong, and this one was so right.
So controversial. Was Tom Hanks great in The Green Mile, or was everyone else like great? Because his role's not really that big. It's more quite straight laced. He's just playing like the prison officer, who like gets figs, but like say Michael Clark Duncan.
It's Michael Clark Duncan's film.
It's his movie, yeah.
Yeah, you are there for him, but I do think that Tom Hanks has because his character has such a moral compass when it comes down to the people on the mile, and because of that kind of helps with his character, because he's in with the worst of the worst. These men are here for a reason, but he still manages to hold a level of dignity for them. While they're in his company or in his house. I think his performance in this is absolutely outstanding, because if you don't have him and the way that he treats the inmates, you don't have the John Coffey. He could have, John Coffey was a very scared man, and he could have just completely went into a corner, but because of how great Tom Hanks is, he brings him out. So you get to see the brilliance and the loveliness that is John Coffey, but you don't get that if you don't have the likes of Tom Hanks working there.
See, because I like John Coffey, Michael Clark Duncan, but then again, the comparison, Sam Rockwell's character is so adherent and just vile in it as well. I'm not saying that Tom Hanks does a bad performance, but I do think he does get a bit lost if you watch it back. That's not saying it's a bad. That's probably what say he had to do for that role and how for that to work. Because if you got someone to try and stand out or do anything different, it probably wouldn't work. But I just think you need. Not you are right. He does, but I think that's perfect for him. Is to get lost but also be like just a center point kind of thing. Rockwell's performance in this was absolutely sublime. When you realize what he's done, when that finally hits you, you're like, fuck, no, let's just turn this off right now, because it was I cried my eyes out when I realized what he'd done, and it's not you see it happening before it happens, and how it all connects together. The death of Delacroix is one of the worst fucking horrific things that Percy, the little dickhead, could have ever done. Hate that man. So glad he got fucked up by John in the worst way possible. Delacroix's death is horrific.
Yeah.
One of the ones I wanted to mention as well, and it's probably not a big one for other people, but it's probably one that means a lot to me because of the film that was based on. Like I say, it was the film I used to watch growing up with my mum and dad, and like say my grandparents and stuff. Saving Mr. Banks. Like the story of how Mary Poppins got made, and have like Tom Hanks playing Walt Disney. Well, not playing Walt Disney as this crazy, nasty person that he probably was in real life, but
it's like a nice version.
Yeah.
Can I steal a Sammy fact in there on that subject?
Go for it.
Tom Hanks is actually a distant cousin of Walt Disney.
All right, did not know that.
He's actually connected to a few people in Hollywood and around there. I found a couple of his family connections while I was looking at things. He's a seventh cousin, once removed, of George Clooney.
All right, nepotism.
Interesting.
There's obviously the Walt Disney connection, and a third cousin 4 times removed of Abraham Lincoln.
All right.
I can actually see that.
Yeah,
I think he's the eighth cousin of Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
All right.
Do you want to know a fact if you didn't watch the Thing Monster podcast? Disney's last words were Kurt Russell.
Yeah. That one.
It's true. And he's not cryogenically frozen. Or at least his head's not.
Is it not?
He is buried in Los Angeles.
Oh.
I've completely forgot about Saving Mr. Banks. I watched it on my own. Don't know why, because I was hysterical when I was watching this. I cried my eyes out. And then I made Anth watch it. It's such a beautiful film. They could have, I love how they did it, love it. But sometimes I like Hollywood to get their comeuppance and to be like, you in some way you're going to pay for what you've done, because that woman got very badly treated in her experience through making Mary Poppins. She didn't even get invited to the fucking premiere, man. They were really poor with that, but I liked how they didn't have to be petty about it. They like the Travis side of it didn't have to be petty. It's like, you all know, but we'll want to get her story out. I loved it. And when I realised it was her dad she was saving, I was like, fuck.
That's always a good one. What about you guys? Is any other ones that you guys want to mention? Lee's got a list.
I've got. I could talk all night. I do want to mention Apollo 13.
Oh God.
I watched that yesterday. I hadn't seen that since I was a kid, and I watched it yesterday, and fucking hell, that's one of the scariest things ever. Like, some of you've covered loads of scary films with your Monsters podcast, but to just be chased by monsters, it's like you can be chased and you can get away, or you can die, or whatever. But
you see it. It's there.
Just to be stuck 200,000 miles away from Earth in pitch black in a missile with no power, no oxygen, no heat. That is one of the scariest thoughts.
Absolutely.
You can do something. You've got the potential to do something about a monster chasing you. There is all you can do in that situation.
No, you pretty much gotta just hold on to the seat of your pants and wonder what the fuck's gonna happen. Yeah. I tried my hardest for some reason. I would fall asleep all the time through an Apollo 13. Constantly keep falling asleep to where I was like, no, this time I need to see from start to finish. I'm glad I did. It's such a good movie. Tom Hanks he plays Jim Lovell. Yeah. Yeah. He's and Gary Sinise, another movie with Gary Sinise in it, who's brilliant. Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, Kevin Bacon and Bill Paxton.
And the great Bill Paxton's in it.
And Ed Harris as well, I think.
Yeah,
Ed Harris.
What a cast.
It's a brilliant cast, and I'm very fascinated by the Apollo missions. So this was right up, but again, if I could stay awake for it. But yeah, I love this movie. That's a good one to talk about.
It's not one of my favorite. I think it's a good telling. I think everything in it, like special effects wise and storytelling, is brilliant. I still think it was like one of the best space movies I've seen till I saw Gravity with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. I thought that was mesmerizing to see, like different, the survival aspect. But with Apollo 13, I know everyone's going to go, duh. I think that spoiler for me as well is you knew how it was going to end.
Yeah. There's no surprises in it.
Yeah.
There's no, like with Gravity, Gravity is such a brilliant movie. Only one you can watch once. You can't go back and watch that a second time. You
it doesn't have the same hit.
No, it doesn't at all. And you're kind of disappointed that you don't have that same effect. But with Apollo 13, you are going to know what the outcome is every time.
Definitely. Now, I know there's probably other ones that we are going to mention. I don't know, Peach, is there anything that you want to talk about there?
I mean, they've all been mentioned, but I do think that Cloud Atlas was really good. It was kind of just the sheer. It's to me, it almost seems like trying to put the actors that are in it, putting their kind of like variety all across one movie of all the different characters they can play. It's kind of putting Tom Hanks's history into one movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
Just for the variety.
Oh, I've never seen it before.
It's about 17 hours long.
It's a long movie. It's a long movie.
Really?
But it's kind of like it's like stories from different parts of the world and across different timelines. And you'll see the same names coming up because it's kind of like they're all interconnected with each other. And
I think the only bad thing about it, well, the negative thing that comes across from it was the fact that it's Tom Hanks's biggest flop.
I actually went to see it at the cinema, and I guess a lot of people just kind of didn't understand the concept, really. That's the only thing I could really think of. Because, I mean, the cast was like huge at the time because you've got like Halle Berry in it as well, and what's it called? Jim Broadbent.
I think a lot of the story in it was a little bit more forward thinking for a lot of people to understand, and for the general public to go in and see, oh, it's a Tom Hanks film, it's not the general. It's basically a mind fucking bender, going through, like, because half the time you don't even know what's going on until you get to the end type thing. So
it's not a one that you can sit and switch your brain off for.
No, but
I haven't seen it, but from the trailers, it looks like a sort of like Hawkman and Hawkgirl type of thing, where it's like star-crossed lovers keep getting reincarnated.
Pretty kind of, but not at the same time. It's like everything and anything, but yeah, it's an interesting watch. But
it's interesting. It's I wouldn't say it's one of those that I would give it a go at least once because it's interesting rather than like there's no guarantee that you'll enjoy it. I'm really selling it now.
I was going to make a really inappropriate joke there, but I stopped myself. So I'm being good. I'm being well played.
Visually, yes, Lee. Visually, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And you know what? It's kind of like it has one of the scenes in it that I know he was doing it in self-defense, but it's one of the, for me, it's a very gruesome scene for Tom Hanks to be in, which is where he's got the cannibal on the floor with the knife.
Oh well, that's a reason for us not to watch it.
But yes.
Right there. One word.
Yes. No, I know there's been a few in the chat. Like Donna's been asking, "What do you think of this movie? What do you think of that movie?" I'm not going to talk about them, Donna. You know why? Because we'll probably come back with a Tom Hanks episode, and you're gonna come on and talk about them yourself. So I'll force you, Donna. There.
But the last one you mentioned, I actually really enjoy.
What was the last one? Catch Me If You Can.
Yeah, I think that's such a good movie.
Oh, I feel like Leonardo DiCaprio outshines Tom Hanks in that, though.
Yeah. It almost feels like a battle between the two of them. Who's going to outact who right now? And unfortunately, sorry to say, Leonardo DiCaprio wins it on every occasion. It's such a good movie, such a clever movie as well.
But Donna's agreeing now. We've got him right, and she said radio.
Okay. That's a signed deal, by the way, Donna.
So I thought
that would be out of it now.
So I thought that would be a nice way to wrap it up there. So I know I always joke that Lee and Sarah are on the long one, but I think it's a nice talk. I think we've gone through a lot of things and left us a lot meat in the bone to revisit in the future as well. Because like I say, there's a lot of different things. Possibly even doing a top 5 Tom Hanks, which Lee can't come on because he's already did it. So.
You can just break down Tom Hanks like we were on the Gary Oldman one. You can break him down so much as well, and you can do the same for Tom Hanks too. It's been lovely having an episode where Sarah doesn't have to have a top 5 and everyone will wait so long before we get to her.
I was the only one on the episode that didn't have a top 5.
I think that's brilliant, and also you're not on a 3.5-hour podcast with us, so yay!
Well, we've got to be careful though. She's got twins, so yes.
That's true. That is true. No. We can't have a pregnant lady be recording for like 3.5 hours. She'd be
I have been squirming quite a bit. Sorry.
That's fine.
You've done so well.
It's fine. So yes, so that is our Tom Hanks talk about his movies. We've got Monsters tomorrow with Sammy and Dan talking about the man behind the monster, which is Gary Oldman and all his different roles and facets. Gary Oldman. That's going to be very interesting. Do you go off in many tangents?
This one.
Do you keep it on topic or do you go off on tangent?
We actually keep it on topic. I think we had to because there was so much that we wanted to cover. And we knew who we wanted to cover. That was the best part about it. We knew exactly who it is we were wanting to talk about. But it's probably the longest. I felt it was the longest one we did, and it got to the point where I was like, "We're gonna have to wrap this up soon." God damn it!
It's only. I would think it was only 20 minutes longer than normal. So.
Oh really? Oh, that's good then. I'm pleased because it did feel like we were sitting there going, "Shit!" Look at the time. But there is, on the end of it, I did say that next week's episode was Hannibal Lecter. And I did say that is subject to change, and it has changed.
Right.
So the next...
So I'll do the advertisement after tomorrow's episode, so don't worry.
Yeah, please do, because, yes, I did say it in there, because we didn't have it confirmed or not what was happening, but we had to have an episode to say that was going to be next week, and it has changed. You will all find out what the new episode is because we do have a very special guest on that one.
Cool. Next Sunday's episode is going to be interesting. It's our kickoff for Halloween season for October. It is Shark Week, so we're talking about shark.
Oh, that's right.
We're talking about shark movies. All the different monsters that are sharks. We're going to go from megalodons to Jaws. Might even see. Samuel L. Jackson get munched on, which was hilarious. So yes, we are.
Sound right.
It always sounds right. Samuel L. Jackson deserves to get munched on.
I didn't even think of it that way until you left.
But yes, and
Oopsies.
I believe Graham is doing trekking this Friday. So without Goodwill, so we are missing, like say, our commander in chief. He's still away, sending us pictures of himself on the Golden Bridge. So
Goodwill's just gone to Risa.
Gone to Risa.
That's a start. No, he's gone to Risa. It's a Star Trek reference. It's fine.
All right, it's fine. I was going to. It's a good
Oh,
Risa.
I thought he was like he's. Yeah.
No.
Like what's happened to him?
I was making a Star Trek joke.
It's fine. We'll
completely lost in this room.
It's fine. We'll probably try and like throw in a few movie reviews and stuff. I know we've got ideas to get a few people on to talk about The Terrifier and try and convince me and Sammy that it's a good movie. So that's going to be interesting if we can get that arranged. But yes, we have got a full month of horror planned. Like say in the next few weeks, so hopefully
it's going to be full on. You're not just going to have monsters, you're going to have this side as well. It's just going to be full on fucking horror fest and ghosties and spookies and ghoulies.
I might even change the logo. I might even change the logo to Horror Up North just for this month. So
yeah,
so it's going to be interesting.
And then we're leading up to the 24-hour live stream.
Yes,
as well.
Yes, that's going to be interesting. See if we still like each other after that.
Going to be something. Friendships are going to be tested. Bonds are going to be tested. We'll see where this lands.
Certainly. But yes, so thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Lee, for joining us. I hope you have had fun there.
Lots of.
Yep.
Lots of fun.
And Lee streams as well, so please follow Lee on Twitch. What's it called? Nerdy Lee?
Nerdy Lee.
Nerdy Lee.
Can't believe Lee even uses the nerdy and I don't. Fucking hell.
Nerdy Lee.
Need to get that changed.
Nerdy Lee. But Daddy Discord, or Daddy Poo as he is now known as.
I need to get back in the Discord chat. I feel like I'm missing out on stuff. I don't know inside jokes anymore.
Yes, that's always outside, but yes. So thank you everyone in the chat that stuck by us, and I hope you enjoyed that as well. Thank you, Beth. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, Chris. Hi, Molly. Hi, Bex. I've got Wagamama's planned soon as well. Don't worry, Bex. But yes, same bat time, same bat channel.
Stay nerdy, everyone. Bye.
Bye.